This is a Echo trimmer that a friend of mine gave me, wanted me to see if I can get it fixed. It's an Echo GT200R. It's a curved shaft string trimmer, and he likes it because of this plastic head on it. Instead of a string, it's got these plastic blades on it. It's been sitting outside for a while. He does not know if it runs. Just looking at it, it's pretty dirty. You can tell it's been sitting outside. There is it's hard to see with the lighting, but there's a hole in the gas tank. Looks like something's been chewing on it. And then also the primer bulb is cracked. So it's going to be hard to see if I can even get it started, see if it can run without maybe replacing that primer bulb first. But we'll dig into it and see if we can get it running. Here's a better look at that primer bulb. It's broken and it needs to be replaced. So I just want to pull it over, see if it has compression to it. It does turn over, and it does feel like there is some compression to it. The switch, I don't know which one's on or off. There's actually the no fuel in here, so I'm going to have to somehow get some fuel in here to see if it can start. Maybe I ought to do it without replacing that primer bulb. I don't know yet. Let's take the air cleaner, open up the air blocks, see what this air filter looks like. Maybe I'll just try to squirt some carb spray. Boy, that is dirty. That is very moldy, dirty air filter. Air box has got a bunch of mold in it. It doesn't look too bad. I think I'll just grab some spray, see if I can get some down there and maybe pull it over, see if it'll turn over and fire. Joke. Well, it will run. So let's look at that fuel issue. Alright, go ahead and take the spark plug out, then I'll get to the carburetor. Spark plug doesn't look too bad, doesn't look all fouled up or anything. Looks pretty good. I'll get this carburetor off. Should just be these two bolts right here holding it in. Get you over here a little bit so you can see better. Oh. Just lost a gasket, I guess, goes in back of it. The inside of the airbox doesn't look too bad. The outside is a little dirty. So let's see if we can get these gas lines disconnected. I'm sure they're pretty petrified. No? Well, it came off pretty well. I'm going to get this throttle cable off of here. I have to remove this throttle cable to get the carburetor all the way off the machine. I can probably, once that cable's out of that holder, Pull it up. I pull the cable free, and then here's that whole carburetor right there. It looks pretty dirty. I might try to just replace that primer bulb. It sounded like the carburetor ran it, but I'll clean this off just on the outside a little bit, replace the primer bulb, maybe probably have to replace that gas tank, and then see if we can get it running on fuel. It looks like this fuel tank is held on just by a couple of bolts down here, little Allen keys. Hopefully that's all it's holding it on. There's one. It's kind of hidden. Alright. Yeah, it was just those two bolts holding that gas tank on. You can tell it's pretty cruddy. And there's a hole right there in the tank that's looks like some mouse or something chewed on it. The new tank, I did buy a new tank for this. It does come with all the fuel lines already in it. So I don't have to replace any of that. I'll get that. Before I put that new fuel tank on, I'm going to go ahead and clean up around where since it's removed, clean up all this stuff around here. I'm going to shove a little piece of towel into the intake so I don't get anything down in the intake. Actually, I'm also going to put the spark plug back in. I don't want to get any debris washed down there. And I'm just going to blow a lot of this off and then clean it up a little bit. Alright, we'll go ahead and put that new tank on. too easily, so I'm going to clean up the threads on these bolts and then try to get inside the threads on the housing and see if those will go in a little bit easier. Alright, I cleaned up those threads a little bit. Hopefully these go in a little better. Yeah, that's a lot better. It's just a new fuel tank, just $12, and a primer bulb. I have primer bulbs just from different other projects. You get a few of them and you buy a carburetor or something, they usually give you a couple, you know, for a couple bucks. Less than 20 for sure. Hopefully we can fix this trimmer for them. Alright. Get the new fuel tank on. I'll set you up and we'll go clean up that carburetor and put it back on just as it is to see if that carburetor is going to run the machine. So this is that carburetor. There's just 4 screws holding this plate that holds the primer bulb. I am new to this filming, so I'll get my camera skills a little bit better the more I do this, but this is one of the first videos I've ever done, so it's going to look a little amateurish. I really don't like how this camera autofocuses. Alright, there's that plate holding that cracked primer bulb. I'll go ahead and clean a lot of this up just on the outside, and I'm not going to open it up and do anything to it because there's just a few dry frames in there that pushes that fuel through. I'm not going to mess with it if I don't have to. So I'll clean the outside of this, put a new primer bulb on, and see if that fixes our problem. Here's a new primer bulb. This one just happens to be clear. This one was probably clear, new, but the fuel stained it. It fits right over there, and the plate to hold it on. Put in those 4 screws, and we'll put it back on the machine. Alright, I'm just going to use this old carburetor. See if this works. If not, I have another one, but we'll just see if this one will work for us. Turn this keeper to hold this cable in. There we go. Now I gotta take that off now again because I forgot to put nut on the end of that line that holds it to the body. Well, that's got to go first. Then we can put it on the carburetor. Alright, take that out. Let's connect these. Fuel lines. Set you up better. Leave on those here. Here we go. Get our gasket on. Alright, carburetor's back on, fuel line's hooked up. I'll put a little bit of fuel in this new tank and see if we get it to run. Alright, fuel's in there. I'll push this primer bulb over just to see if I can get some fuel coming up. I may have to cut that line. It is not bringing fuel up. So I may have the fuel lines in the wrong place. This is not bringing fuel up. I'll switch those around and see if it works. So I was having trouble getting fuel to come up when I was pressing this primer bulb on this. This is the old carburetor. This is a brand new carburetor for the same machine. And I noticed when I push that primer bulb, you can hear that air being pulled up. In this one, I couldn't hear that. So what I did, took this piece off. There's a diaphragm and a little gasket underneath there. I cleaned out all the passageways in here. And now, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear something being sucked up. So I'll put this back together, put it back on the trimmer, and see if I get fuel to come up. Yeah, I'm still hearing that, but knowing that these were clogged, there's a pretty good possibility that passageways inside this carburetor are clogged. So I'm going to see if this works first before I replace it. I'll just put these lines on before I attach the carburetor, just to see if I can pull some fuel with that primer bulb. Yeah, you can see there I am pulling fuel into that primer bulb. So if this carburetor is not all clogged, this should work. Alright, let's see if that fixed our problem. On. Well, as you can see, it did run, but it was a little sluggish. I'm going to run it for a little bit longer, see if it burns through all that. And if it does, I'm just going to leave that carburetor the way it is and call it fixed. I did get a new air cleaner to replace that one that was all moldy. And I started this, I didn't say it when I was starting, but I forgot to turn the choke on. It started without choke at all. So that leads me to believe that that carburetor is not all the way clogged. So I'll run this a little more with, see if it'll burn through all that crap and see if it runs a little better. So the new gas tank was $17.50. I could have got 3 primer bulbs, 3 of these for $5.36, but I went ahead and for $10.39, I got this on a prime deal. Went ahead and got this carburetor kit. Came with a carburetor, 2 extra primer bulbs, spark plug, fuel lines, gaskets, and a air filter for $10. So even if I was only going to replace the primer bulb, I would have just went for this carburetor kit that comes with it, because I can always use this carburetor on something else or other parts. I'll put the prices up on the screen. Yeah, that just ran extremely well. It didn't bog down at all after warming up a little bit, and under a load it didn't bog down at all. So hopefully that just shows that you can, for a few bucks and a couple really simple tools, you can fix machines that have been sitting outside for a long time, and you know, you don't. It's a lot easier than it looks, and hopefully this helps somebody. Thanks for watching.